Good evening to all of you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
All are here. I think all the participants are here, and welcome to all of you. Welcome to this class on the solid state part 2. Last Sunday we covered the first part of the solid state. Today this is the second part. Karthik, I also welcome our new participant Karthik.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir, I am here, sir.
Yeah, just I would request that kindly mute all the participants should mute their mic. Please mute yourself, and wherever required, then you can switch on. Karthik, kindly mute the mic. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so last time you studied about. Let us have a brief recap. We studied about the solids, and there are two types of solids: crystalline solid and amorphous solids. Mainly, we have to focus on crystalline solids. They are made up of crystals, crystal structure, which are of different types. Different types of atomic arrangement is there, and there are different types of unit cells, such as simple cubic cell. There is a body-centered cubic cell. There is face-centered cubic cell. Then we also saw how to find out the number of atoms per unit cell. We calculated like this 1, 2, and 4 for FCC. Then we also calculated the packing efficiency. We did the calculation, we did the derivation, and determined the packing efficiency. So and we found that FCC, that is cubic close packed, is having the highest packing efficiency of what percentage? What was the percent packing efficiency of FCC FCC cell? Can anybody remember? It was 74%.
74%.
Yes, and that is the highest one, and it's logical also because it is the most packed unit cell when you compared with, because it is having the atoms on all the 6 faces in addition to the atoms at the corners. So naturally, it is the most closely packed. So its packing efficiency is the highest. It's logical. Okay. So today we will further discuss about the structure, the different kinds of voids, defects, and more importantly, the properties, how the atomic structure or the crystal structure impact their different properties like electrical properties as well as electronics properties and the magnetic properties. Death of Sushant Singh Rajput has left a void in the film industries. This is a very sad news coming from Bollywood in the last week, or rather on Sunday itself, last Sunday. And I think most of us are still trying to come to terms with this unfortunate and sad news. But then why have you used this quotation here? Why have you used this sentence here in this chemistry class? Can anybody tell?
Void.
Yes, void.
So void is the gap.
Yes. Void means space. A space which is created by what? A compact space in which a small space is created by living of something. Something lives out, so you can create it. So you can say that a void is created in that sense. So I have used this because I want to emphasize this. I want to emphasize void. So this is the word void. We are going to study about the void also, because when in the last class we saw that and a unit cell is packed with atoms. So most of the space is occupied by more than half. In case of simple cubic cell, it is around 52%. BCC, it is what percentage? 68%. In case of FCC, it is 74%. So you see, the most of the space is occupied by atoms. It means some spaces are left unoccupied. These unoccupied spaces are called as voids. Okay. So in this lecture, we are going to study about voids and defects in crystal. Voids are created naturally. It is not something we introduce void. It's created naturally because of atomic arrangement. There has to be space. Then we'll discuss about the electrical properties, how the atomic structure affect and influences the electrical properties. About electronics properties, most important, the semiconductors. This is one of the most important, say, kind of material which has revolutionized the everything. The IT industry, the IT digital revolution has been caused by semiconductors. They're at the core. And then magnetic properties, of course. These magnetic properties are also very important. These magnetic properties are important because, again, there's a great impact upon many of the devices, many of the gadgets we use here. Like simple, if I tell you about pen drive, everybody uses pen drive, or let's say pen drive, or say even CD, or say your SSD, solid state device, or even LCD. These all depend upon the magnetic properties of the medium which is being used inside the device, and how the things are, data is stored on magnetic tape. It used to be stored earlier, now also in different forms, and how it can be erased, it can be reused. All these things are because of magnetic properties of certain materials, which is dependent upon the atomic structure. So now let's start with voids. As I explained earlier, atoms are packed in a lattice in different ways. We have seen earlier. There are mainly two types of voids. They are tetrahedral voids and octahedral. Basically, their geometrical structure. They are tetrahedral voids and octahedral voids, and they have certain properties. These tetrahedral voids are smaller in size, so you will find more number of tetrahedral voids, and half of the number of total is octahedral voids. They will be lesser in numbers. In any ionic compound like NaCl, say an ionic compound, as we have seen in the last class, there are different types of compounds. There could be molecular, covalent, ionic, all these things. This is basically a NaCl atom. So you see, are you seeing this? This is a, what do you call it? Is it cation or anion? Na plus is cation. Yes, it's a cation, and this is anion. What do you think? Which one is bigger?
Anion is bigger.
Yes, anion is bigger and cation is smaller. So, which in the voids which is present in the structure, present in the crystal, this cation will occupy the space or the void which is created by the anion. Anion will take the place of, it will be at the place of the what do you call close. It will do the close packing, and cation will take the interstitial space. Tetrahedral voids are smaller than octahedral voids, naturally, because by the shape you can see that they are smaller, and the cations will occupy those voids. So voids are not, we are not going into further details. The voids, the more important are the defects and how we create defects for our own purpose. That's most important thing, because after all we are studying these topics only because so that we can create materials of our choice. We can create materials which we need for our different technological revolution. So basically, briefly we'll go see these things. What are defects? They are basically irregularities. Any defect is irregularity. Suppose somebody has defect in his teeth, it means some irregularity in the teeth, you can say there is a defect. In the arrangement of constituent particles, what are the constituent particles? Last lecture I explained to you.
Cations and anions.
Yeah,
So
both are
anything.
Atoms, molecules.
Atoms.
Yeah. Yes, very good. It can be anything. It can be atom, molecule, or ions. Again, ions means as you said, cations plus anions, anything. There are point defects, and there are line defects. Point defect means what? Suppose there is a lattice is there. If I take a front view, so you see there is a one atom here, one atom here, one atom here. Some defect associated with this point, we will call it point defect. But if a defect is associated with a series of points in a lattice, that will be called as in a row of lattice points. So there is defect here. So there are 3 crystals here, and there is a defect all along. That will be called a line defect. So there are 2 kinds of defects mainly. Yeah. So point defects are again of 3 types. Broadly 2 types, and of course there is a third type also, impurity defect. But broadly there are 2 types: a stoichiometry defect and non-stoichiometry defect. Can anybody tell what is this stoichiometry? What is this stoichiometry word? Must have heard this word earlier.
Ratio of cations and anions.
Yes. This is a good word. Stoichio, the root word is this one. But it is not just the ratio of cations and anions. It is not the ratio of cations and anions as it is. It's basically ratio of cations and anions is the ratio of different elements, different atoms present in a molecule. As you learned, there are different laws there, like law of fixed proportions, law of chemical combinations, law of mass conservation. So suppose there is H2 molecule is there, so there is a fixed number of what? There is a fixed mass of hydrogen which will combine with oxygen. In any compound, say hydrogen fluoride, suppose there is a molecule. So there will be a fixed mass of hydrogen which will combine with a fixed mass of fluorine. This is called a stoichiometry. In any molecule, the proportion of different constituents is constant. In a simple way, the proportion of different constituents of a molecule is fixed. So that is a stoichiometry. So this kind of defects, stoichiometric defects, they do not affect. They do not affect. Whereas non-stoichiometric defect, they affect. थोड़ा सा उल्टा दिखता है ना ये, it is non, but it says it do not affect. It looks slightly थोड़ा सा ऐसा दिखता है, लगता है कि opposite है ये. But simply you should remember that stoichiometric defects do not affect the stoichiometry, which do not affect the composition, whereas non-stoichiometric defect affect the proportion of different masses of different atoms in a molecule. So we'll proceed to the next slide. The stoichiometric defects. They are called intrinsic defect. There is a word here, intrinsic. What does it mean?
Internal.
It's internal. It's internal and it's natural kind of thing. When the crystal is getting formed, this defect is created. It's intrinsic, but it's not something. It's internal. You are not inducing from outside. And thermodynamic defect. It's also called thermodynamic defect because due to heating, this defect can be introduced due to heating. When circulating occurs due to heating or cooling, again there are 2 types: vacancy defect and interstitial defect. Vacancy defect, and second is interstitial defect. We'll see in the next slide. Vacancy defect, very easy. You can see there is a vacancy created here. So what will the effect of this kind of defect? What is the effect on the property of molecule? This is the effect. Density will be reduced naturally because you have a missing atom, so the density gets reduced. And interstitial defect. What is this defect? Look carefully here. In this defect, what is happening here is, they occupy a space between the lattice points. I told you, suppose this is a lattice point. So some atoms occupy this space. So let us say even this space. So these are called interstices. This is the root word. Interstice means what? Interstellar. There is a movie on Interstellar. What does it mean? What does this word mean?
Space
Anyone tell?
space between.
A space in between. Yes, a space in between. So see, they are all these blue atoms. This is a space in between. So this atom B, a foreign atom, has occupied this space. This B need not be a foreign atom always. No, this can be same atom, but which is moved from its position. At the original position, it is moved to that point. This atom can be made up of the same. This atom can be of the same molecule. This atom can be from other molecule also. So if it is from other molecule, see this is see here. This then if it is a foreign molecule, it's a foreign atom, then it will be called as impurity. But impurity doesn't mean it doesn't have only negative connotation. It has a very positive effect as well, as you will see later while studying about the electronics properties. Okay. So the word defects. What is the effect of the defects? That affects the electrical neutrality. There is a word here, electrical neutrality. How?
P-type, N-type, like positive charge is increased, negative is increased.
Yes. If we have additional, because if we take away one atom, so the balance of charges gets affected. So that's how it affects the electrical neutrality. Either they will have additional charges, there will be positive charge, or there can be negative charge. But ionic solids, what is ionic solids? They are always neutral. Ionic solids are always neutral. So the defects which are caused in ionic solids, we don't call them point or line. We don't call them vacancy defect, or we don't call them interstitial defect. We have different names. They are called as Frankel defects and Schottky defects. Basically, they are same defects as in case of molecular solids, but in case of ionic solids, they have different names. Simple. In case of ionic solids, they have different names, but in principle, they are the same kinds of defects. The name only is different. Okay. Frankel defect. The same again is NaCl, sodium chloride, common salt, most common ionic compound. What is happening here? See this picture carefully. What is happening here is one of the sodium ion has gone to a different place. Now it is not supposed to be present here, but it has moved from here. Its original place is this one. It has moved from here to here. Does the neutrality get affected here?
No.
Electrical neutrality, does it
No.
get affected? No, because there is no additional atom. There is no addition or subtraction of atom. It remains simply dislocation is there. This is also called as dislocation defect. Okay. Now there are two defects are caused simultaneously here. There is a vacancy defect here, and then there is this defect is what? Interstitial defect. Because there is a vacancy created here, whereas there is additional atom here. So this becomes an interstitial defect, and this becomes a vacancy defect. These both are occurring. Please note that both the defects are occurring here simultaneously. A Schottky defect. Again, this kind of vacancy defect in ionic solids. What happens is they're ionic solids, means what is important is neutrality. Electrical neutrality is very important. In this case, in the previous case, what happened is there is dislocation of a particle, whereas in this case, equal number of cations and anions are missing. So if there are equal numbers of cations and anions missing, the net, there is no additional subtraction of charges, so the neutrality is maintained. And what is the effect in this case? Achha, what is the effect in case of Frenkel defect on the density? Please tell me.
Density is same.
Yes, density will be same.
Same. No
Do
additional
you agree?
molecules.
Yeah. Aditya, do you agree?
Yes, sir. Density does not change. The structure there's some change on the structure, but density remains same.
Density remains same naturally because there is no addition or subtraction of any atom. But what about the Schottky defect? What will happen to density?
Density will increase most probably because
In case
we are
of
adding.
Schottky, no. They are missing. It will decrease basically.
So, but
Here.
if we are adding.
But if there are equal number of cations and anions are added instead of missing, if they are added, that's what you're saying. Yes, in that case, density will increase. Yes.
Yes.
In that case, density will increase. If they are missing, density
That is
will
also
decrease.
called Schottky defect.
But just to have some. Pardon?
If
Say, you
equal
said
number of cations and anions are added, then what kind? If equal number of cations and anions are added, then what kind of defect that is? That is also Schottky.
that is also a Schottky defect. Yeah. I don't know. There is different. I have to check it. I some different term is there or not. But a Schottky defect basically is the cations and anions are missing. That's what we call a Schottky defect. But what I think Karthik is asking that if you add different cations and anions, whether that is also called as a Schottky defect or some other name. That I have to check up. I'll let you know. Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So just to have a basic data here, just you can see there are out of 10 to the power 22, this 10 to the power 6 defects can be there in 1 centimeter cube. So you can see almost 1/4. So the defect can be very high. Number of defects is almost 1/4 the number of total ions in 1 centimeter cube. Just some interesting information is there. Acha, these both the defects, Frenkel and Schottky defect, can be present together also in some cases. Then, as we discussed the last one, that is impurity defect. Basically, in this, the key thing is here, there is a different atom. In the previous cases, the atom, there is no foreign atom in the previous cases. In this case, there is a foreign atom, can occupy the space. So that is called impurity defect. This is impurity here. And we'll see that how impurity is introduced and the property, especially the electronics property, are affected, are changed, and changed for better. Okay. Now coming to non-stoichiometric defects. What is the effect of non-stoichiometric defect? Do they affect the stoichiometry or not?
Effect.
Yes, they affect the stoichiometric property, stoichiometric ratio, they affect. And there are two types again here. They are metal excess and metal deficient. There are two types. Metal excess defects, these are basically they are alkali halides. Alkali is which group is alkali metals?
Alkali
Which
metals.
group?
First group.
Group 1.
Yes, group 1 is alkali metal like your lithium, sodium, potassium. And halides, which group?
17.
Group 17.
17 group is halides. Correct. So basically, these alkali halides, they have a tendency to gain, either alkali getting deposited at the top of the surface, and they acquire a characteristic color because of this deposition on the surface. And these colors can be very interesting. Like sodium, what color? It's yellow. Sodium. Has anyone seen sodium? Have you seen sodium in your lab?
No.
None of you.
Sir, in
Okay.
practical,
Have you seen sodium vapor lamps? Halogen lamp बोलते हैं ना?
No, sir.
Halogen lamp. No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Have you seen potassium? Have you seen potassium iodide? Might not have seen potassium chloride, but has anyone seen potassium
Yes.
iodide? Where?
Potassium iodide.
Sun lab.
Who? In the lab. Okay. What is the color of potassium iodide?
Purple.
Yes,
Violet.
purple color. Purple. Violet or purple? Yeah, purplish. And what is the use of potassium iodide? What is the application of potassium iodide?
Iodometric titration.
Yeah. If you go further back, in your earlier classes, potassium iodide solution was used to test for carbohydrates. Do you remember? Test for starch. It's done with the help of potassium iodide. Okay.
Potassium iodide.
Yeah. And then there is a pink. Again, the interesting color. There's a violet of potassium chloride, pink lithium chloride. Very interesting colors are there. So this is due to metal excess. This is due to metal excess defects. Okay. Similarly, there is metal deficient defects as well. Again, here metal deficient defects. When you say now, see this is what is meant by stoichiometry or the fixed composition. When you talk about ferrous oxide or iron oxide, so you don't get perfect FeO. Why? Because this Fe will be into two parts. Some will be Fe2 and Fe3. Yeah, what do you call Fe2 plus and ऐसे दिखते हैं ना?
3+.
So you don't get perfect combination as per this is ideal condition. You don't have perfect mass of Fe combining with perfect mass of oxygen. So this Fe will be having a little deficient. Ideally, it is 0.95. It should have been 1. It's have written 0.095. It should have been actually It should have been 0.95 actually. Sorry, it's a mistake. It's a 0.95. So only 95% of is your this plus 2 or other ferrous. So why it happens? This is a natural process. It's difficult to get the perfect composition. While formation of this oxide, iron oxide, we get this kind of proportion in practice, in actual. This is called metal deficient defects. Now coming to the electrical properties. This is very important, and this is something which is also connected very closely with your physics, isn't it?
Yes.
This is closely connected with your physics, electrical properties. Physics, engineering, your day-to-day life, and this is very important table. You see, are you able to see the table clearly? आपको दिखाई पड़ रहा है table ये? Are you able to read it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, if I draw a line
Just
here
that,
like that.
it is germanium, right?
Pardon?
After silicon, it is germanium, right?
Yes, it is germanium. Yeah. Silicon, Si, and this is germanium. These are all semiconductor elements, These are metals, iron, copper, silver. The best conductor will have, say, copper is one of the most popular and very good conductor of electricity. What is the conductivity of copper? Anybody remember? What will be the conductivity of, say, copper?
Copper.
It is
10 to the power 7.
10 to the power 7. 10 to the 7, 10 to the power 8. Maybe silver is 10 to the power 8. And the unit of conductivity is what? How do you read it?
Ohm inverse, meter inverse.
Ohm inverse, meter inverse, per ohm per meter, something like that.
Siemens.
And what is the
Siemens meter inverse.
Yeah. And what is inverse of conductivity? Who will tell? Gauri, please tell me. What is
Resistivity. Resistivity.
Yes, resistivity. Yes, inverse of conductivity is resistivity. Correct. So this is a table in which you just give an indication because there is a continuum. We call it a scale. It's not something which is there is no rigid boundary. It cannot be. But broadly talking, there are the ranges. We talk in terms of range. From here to here it is insulator. From here to here it is conductor. So 10 to the minus 10, 20 10 to the minus 10 is insulator. Conductor is 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7, and 10 to the power 7 is called as a good conductor. Have you wondered why we call it good conductor and bad conductor?
Allowing large
You
amount
don't
of
say
electrons.
conductor, or you simply don't.
So because even
Yeah,
means every object allows
yeah. We use the word good conductor and bad.
a specific amount of charge or heat to transfer through it. It can be
Large
negative.
number of free electrons.
Yeah. Yes. Large number of.
Free electrons.
Yeah. You can say so. Basically, it's over it's because it's defined over a range. So conductivity is, if it's a good conductivity, then it's a good conductor. So it's defined over a range. There's no sharp defined thing that yes, it is a conductor. This is not a conductor. That doesn't happen. We can't say this is not a conductor, or aluminum or water with some impurities. We can't say it is not a conductor. It's a bad conductor. It's a bad conductor. You can't say distilled water. Basically, it is again bad conductor. If you add some impurities, because nothing can be perfect in nature, because nothing is perfect in nature, there is always some impurity present. If the higher the impurity is, the conductivity increases. So it's a
So-
good conductor or bad conductor. Yeah, please.
So then what about wood?
Wood. Yeah.
I think it is a pure insulator.
It is an insulator, it is an insulator, but say, suppose when I say wood, but if it say cut a branch which is still green, if take a branch, cut it, it's a green, freshly cut, it may conduct some electricity, and provided if it is also a little bit wet inside or outside, so it may conduct electricity. But yes, if it is dried wood, it is definitely an insulator.
So which is the best insulator?
silver iron.
Mica, in my view, it's mica. Mica is the best insulator. Have you heard about mica?
Mica MCB we use most probably.
Mica is used in many electrical appliances. If you happen to open an electric iron which you are using at your home, you will see mica there inside. Has anyone tried? Has anyone got a chance to see it inside ever? Mica is the best insulator, you can say. Again, there are different ways how to measure the insulating properties. The way we are measuring conducting properties, the same way we also measure insulating property. Now, how do you measure that? Can anyone tell?
Dielectric constant.
Yes. One can measure by dielectric constant. One can measure insulator also, because in physics, everything has to be measured. Okay, so we'll proceed. We'll go to next. The subject of our interest is semiconductor. This is the most important thing here. We are going to discuss further. Again, in terms of all these three, insulator, semiconductor, and conductor, at the atomic level, at the electronic level, there is a valence, or molecular orbitals, and there are different orbits are there which are so close, they tend to form band. So we call them valence band. And then there is a conduction band where electrons can move and conduct electricity. So you see, there is a large. Are you able to see clearly here? There is a large gap here. You can easily see that. In case of metals, they overlap. This is metal. Whereas in case of semiconductor, there is a small gap. Forget this point. There is a small gap here in between. So these semiconductors, they are semiconductors. So mainly our focus is on semiconductors. There is a small gap here. Semiconductors on their own, they're like, suppose there are two well-known elements. Two
Silicon,
well-known
germanium,
yes, and they belong to which group?
14.
Silicon belong to 14 group.
14.
How many? What is the valency of 14 group?
4.
4. Yes, 4. So, as such, silicon and germanium, their conductivity is very low. You can't use semiconductors as it is. If you don't, without any modification in these atoms, silicon or germanium, they can't be simply used as of any practical use. So what we do is we try to modify the properties of semiconductor so that they start conducting electricity. And how do we do that? We'll see now.
Sir, all metals are conductors.
All metals are conductors. That's true. Yes. Any exception is there? I think all metals are conductors. Yes, that is basic property of, and they are not only electrically good conductors, they are also thermally. They are also thermal conductors. All the metals.
Conductors.
Okay. But all the metals are not. All the metals are not. Of course, they are not solids. Which metal is not solid?
Which bromine?
Mercury.
Yeah. I would like Ritika to answer. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Which metal is not solid?
Mercury.
Correct. Somebody also telling what bromine. Is bromine a metal?
No, sir. It's a non. It's non.
Halogen.
Yeah, it is a halogen. It is which group?
17.
Element?
17.
Pardon? 17.
17.
Yes. What is the color of bromine?
Violet, reddish violet.
Yeah, I think it is a yellowish, brownish, something like that. Bromine,
So
chlorine,
brown
fluorine.
color.
Brown color, yes. It's brown color basically. And what is its state at room temperature and pressure?
Liquid.
What is the state of
Liquid.
bromine? Yes. And as you go down in the group, what happens?
Second feet.
Go up. Like say fluorine. What is it? Fluorine, bromine. Bromine is liquid or gas?
So liquid.
Liquid.
It's a liquid, yeah. Fluorine?
Gas.
Fluorine is gas.
Fluorine is a gas. Yes.
Van der Waals force is increasing.
So now coming to the topic, see this. Pardon? Yeah, say again. Okay, we'll see the conductors now. We'll now quickly go through this. Conductors, because they are conductors, they are metals, and they can conduct electricity both in solid or molten state. If they are, they can, if they conduct electricity through movement of electrons, they are called metals, or they are called as ions, electrolytes. Either conducting electricity through ions, they are called electrolytes. As you saw in the last diagram, the valence band overlaps the conduction band. Electrons can easily move to conduction band under applied electric field. Now our main topic, semiconductors. This is the main topic. This gap is small. Some electrons may jump. This is important. Silicon and germanium, this 14 group, are intrinsic semiconductors by the very basic property, but conductivity is too low. So how to increase conductivity? By doping. What is doping? Doping is introduction of
Impurity.
what? Impurity inside. And what these impurities are? They are nothing but different atoms, either of 15 group
or 13.
either on right side or left hand side. Depending upon them, whether your right hand side or left hand side atoms you're introducing we call them electron rich or electron deficient. Very simple. We can call them that we are introducing electronic defects through the impurities. Doping. Doping is very already we have discussed most of the things. They introduce electronic defects. Already everything we have discussed, I think, in this slide. Yeah, this is a periodic table just for your. This is silicon and germanium here. Silicon and germanium protein group, and so here this is 15 group, and this is 13 group. So either here we either introduce this is nitrogen, this is phosphorus, and what is AS? P or AS? Here
Arsenic.
AS is arsenic. Yeah, this boron, aluminum, and gallium is here. This is this side, and this is the phosphorus and arsenic. This on right hand side. For doping, we use either this right hand side elements like phosphorus and arsenic. They introduce electron rich impurities, and boron, aluminum, and gallium. If we introduce, we introduce electron deficient impurity. This is the. So already we discussed what happens is actually here is this phosphorus, and because they have 5, what is the valency? This valency is 5. So this 4 out of 5 valence electrons, they form covalent bond. So what happens? One is free. 5th extra electron, because of presence of this extra electrons, conductivity is of silicon or germanium is increased. And since this extra electron is basically negative, this is negative, so we call it N-type semiconductors. In class 12, you are all students of class 12, in I think chapter 14 of physics, we are going to study in details about semiconductors. Aditya, have you seen your physics? Have you seen all the chapters of your physics book?
Yes, sir. The index. I have seen the index. It is. Yes, sir. Like I have not gone through the chapter, but I have seen in the.
Yeah. Sometimes to have further increase your knowledge, because in any case you have to study that, so you can refer that chapter. You can this physics chapter also to understand further. Okay. And this electron deficient this thing impurities, as I discussed, there are how many valence electrons? There are 3 valence electrons. So there is one due to which there is one missing space, because 3 will form 3 covalent bonds, and one electron is without having its matching pair. So what happens is, and because of this missing electron, a hole is caused. We call electron hole. Like something like this. So this is missing. So this is a hole here. These 3 are occupied. They are tied rather. These are tied, but this is free. So what will happen from nearby atom? This one electron will move to here. But if this electron moves to this place, this gets occupied, and a hole is created here, isn't it? Again, from nearby electrons, one electron will move from here to here. Again, a hole is created here. So while electrons moving in this direction, it will appear that hole is moving in this direction. It will look like that. So it's like a movement of hole is also getting caused in direction opposite to the direction of movement of electrons. This kind of semiconductors are called as p-type semiconductors. They are positive type. Electron is basically negative. This hole is what? Positive, isn't it? So that's why we call it p-type semiconductors. You have to study all these things in details in your physics. So this is all about your electronics properties. Now coming to the magnetic property. The magnets which we understand in our day-to-day life is different from, or that's really a very small portion of the entire world of magnets. There are varieties of magnets. We call them ferromagnetic. The one we talk about in day-to-day life is what kind of magnet? That is ferromagnetic. which is made up of either iron, mostly iron, or nickel or cobalt. Mostly it is
Aluminium.
iron. Yeah. They are kind of permanent magnet, and just its reverse is ferromagnetic, or reverse anti-ferromagnetic. Then there is something called ferrimagnetic. This is reverse of anti-ferromagnetic, is reverse of this one. It's called something ferrimagnetic, something called temporary kind of phenomenon. Then this paramagnetic, again they are two reverse. If you go in your textbook, if you see in your NCERT textbook, you will find that they start with paramagnetic, then this is 1, this is 2, very confusing. This is 3, this is 4, this is 5. You get confused. So I have arranged in this fashion. This is, I think, better, easy to understand. But before we understand all this magnetic this thing, I would like you to quickly revise what you have studied in not only the last chapter but also in the last class, that is class 11. You have to understand molecular structure. You may refer your books again. Which book? Your class 11 books. Mainly, I think chapter 4. Which chapter it is?
Chemical bonding.
Chemical bonding.
Chemical bonding. Yes, very correct. Chemical bonding. So that chapter, I think one has to study again and again, because that is chapter. Because even in organic chemistry, you are going to describe the properties in terms of bonds. So you have to be very clear about the chemical bonds. How do they form and how do they affect the property? And property means not only chemical property, but also their other properties as well. So it's very, very important. So I just briefly thought, let's have a recap of this thing. We will not deal much in details these topics. So there are electrovalent, but mainly for our interest is covalent bond here. You all know what electrovalent bond is. Covalent, like cooperation, co-curricular, the sharing. Co is what? Sharing. Coed. So this sharing of electrons. So they are all kind of, there can be single bond, there can be double bond, there can be triple bond. In fact, in case of organic chemistry, many of these chapters are classified in terms of the bonds. What kind of bond? It's a single bond or double bond. The properties drastically differ. So much so that you have a altogether different name for the compounds or the group of compounds. So this is about bonding. Our interest is, again, we are interested in covalent bonds. Covalent bonds, are they neutral in character?
No. Partial electrovalency can be there.
There's partial charge on both the atoms, elements that are in the covalent bond.
Yeah.
Holding
Covalent
Pajan's
Are they neutral in character? Means the two atoms are there in a molecule.
So we can say they are neutral in atom, as both the atoms cancel each other's polarity.
That comes next. That cancellation of polarity is a different. The polarity becomes zero. The moment becomes zero. It can happen in many molecules, but the molecule itself has it's non-polar first. If you have, we'll see in the next slide. When I say non-polar covalent bond and polar covalent bond, if I am talking about one bond, see, suppose there are 3 A, B, and C. Okay, there can be bond with this, there can be bond with this. Okay, but suppose I am talking about A and B. What you are talking is this cancellation here. This may cancel. Suppose this is A, this is B, this is C. So this may cancel each other. The moment, what we see dipole moment, that may get cancelled by vectorial addition. So this becomes non-polar. This is a different case. And what I'm talking about, simple case of this one. When there are only 2 atoms, there is no angularity here. There is no vectorial angle, so that they cancel out. In the case of simple molecule also, if you see, that also can be non-polar covalent bond. In what case? If you have a similar atoms like hydrogen, oxygen, HH, so the electron is equally shared between, we'll see in the next slide, between the 2 atoms. Like These, see all this. Here they are equally attracted. So like there are two HH. So your whatever they're in between. So they're equally in between this between two molecules. But suppose you take a molecule like HF, this electron is not in the middle. They go this side. Electrons go this side. So what will happen?
Partial charge on the F would be negative.
They go towards fluorine because fluorine what? Negative charge and this electron. So in this case, this becomes what? Non-polar. Sorry. This becomes
Polar covalent bond.
HS becomes polar. HS becomes non-polar.
And this becomes non-polar. This becomes non-polar. And what I think Aditya said is a different kind of atoms in which this polarity get cancelled out because of their bond arrangements, because of the bond angles. That also we'll see. I already explained. There is a term called here dipole moment. Again, this is something which you have studied in the previous class 11.
Charge into distance between the charges.
Yes. And why it is called dipole?
So because it's between two
Positive,
poles.
negative charges are there.
Yeah, time is 2. Time is 2. Since there are positive charge, there is a negative charge, and you take the entire distance. Yeah, na? Say it is R,
Yes, sir.
and this is the plus Q. What is this minus Q? What is dipole moment? What is dipole moment? Distance
Q
R.
into R.
Simple. Q into R. Dipole moment is a scalar quantity or vector quantity?
Vector quantity.
It is a vector quantity. So all the dipole moments for a given molecule are to be added vectorially to find out its effective dipole moment. And that dipole moment is going to affect the magnetic property of the molecule. One has to be very clear.
So what is this direction?
And what is the unit of dipole moment? What is the unit?
D by then
What is the
Coulomb
what is the-
meter.
Coulomb.
Coulomb meter.
Yeah. Basic unit is it's called Coulomb meter. Basically, Coulomb charge. So it's Coulomb and distance meter. That is basic unit. But that is not how we express. We express in dBi unit. And why we choose this unit? Debye was a scientist, physicist, against after whose name this unit has been put. He was also Nobel awardee. But basically, we choose a unit to conveniently express our, we chose gigabyte to express the capacity of, say, your pen drive or any other. So it's a convenient unit, Debye unit. But basic is Coulomb meter.
Sir,
And then there,
so what is
Yeah.
the direction of the dipole moment? From positive to negative or negative to positive?
direction of dipole moment. It is from positive to negative. Like you say, in case of HF, we express this way, no? So this acquires a positive charge, this acquires negative charge. So direction of the moment, this is how we put arrow on the top of this molecule and put like this. This express it. So direction becomes positive to negative.
No, see, in physics we have learned from negative to positive. So there was a controversy between the two. Chemistry is telling positive to negative.
Okay, so moment as you discussed in the previous slide. Pardon? Okay. For polyatomic molecules, dipole moment is a vector sum of dipole moments of different bonds. So barium fluoride and boron fluoride is 0. It is 0. And how it is coming to 0? Due to vectorial addition. And H2 has a net dipole moment. But H2, this also has 3 atoms, but it has a net dipole moment. Okay. Somebody saying something about controversy?
So the direction of dipole moment actually.
Okay.
In physics we have learned direction of dipole moment is from negative to positive in first chapter of physics. But here we are learning from positive to negative in chemistry book. So that was
Okay, okay. So we will discuss further. Okay. So we'll take it up. I just let me note it down. Just let me note down. We'll discuss it further. Yeah. Yeah, it happens sometimes. It happens.
Okay.
Now coming to this, all this as you discussed, ferromagnetic and other different kinds of magnets. Basically, we have to study not in much details because in only one page everything is given. Only I have put in a bit more details. They becomes a permanent magnet. Like as you know all these things, there is a term called domain. Domains are nothing but a group of small regions. They behave like tiny magnets. They have their own dipole moments, and these are called ferromagnetic. It just reverses your anti-ferromagnetic. Here domains, as I said, group of like they behave like tiny group of particles behave like tiny magnets. They are oriented in opposite directions so they cancel out each other. So the domains are oriented in opposite directions, their dipole moment get cancelled out, and they become just reverse of ferromagnetic. There is something called as ferrimagnetic also. Here also the domains are oriented in opposite directions, but since the numbers are different, they don't cancel out. In case of anti-ferromagnetic, the numbers are equal. This number of domains, like if there are say domains in this direction, and there are this what you call this is called anti-ferromagnetic. But suppose you have 3 this side and 2 this side. So what do you call this becomes ferrimagnetic. This is ferrimagnetic. They don't cancel out. They simply because of difference in number, because you got unequal numbers. They are weakly attracted magnetic field compared to ferromagnetic. Ferri is weak. Ferro is strong. Examples are your all ferrites and magnetite. Both are your iron compounds. Magnetite is iron ore, I believe. It's an iron ore also. Magnetite is an important iron ore. And other ferrites like this magnesium and zinc ferrites are there. On heating, they become paramagnetic. The other properties on heating, they become paramagnetic. Okay. They have unpaired electrons. Paramagnetics, they have unpaired electrons. They move from, see, when you put any magnet in front of any magnetic substance, they get attracted towards the magnet. What does it actually mean? In the language of physics, that attracted particle is basically moving from a weaker magnetic field to a stronger magnetic field. Suppose you put a magnet here. This is a magnet, and there is a particle here. Suppose this is a bar magnet. There is a small particle here. And suppose it's getting attracted here, so there is a strong magnetic field here, and there is a weak field here. Okay, so particle is moving from weak magnetic field to a strong magnetic field. In other words, the particle gets attracted towards the magnet. You have to understand this thing. Okay, and paramagnetic particles, they lose their magnetism in absence of magnetic field. They lose their magnetism in absence of magnetic field. Common example is oxygen. Similarly, they're diamagnetic. They're just opposite of, as I explained earlier, they're just opposite of paramagnetic. There are no unpaired electrons. They move from, this is important, moves from a stronger to weaker magnetic field. What does it mean? Suppose I put a magnet here. This is a magnet. This is a particle. Where the particles will move? Tell me. Will it go in this direction or it will go in this direction?
Left direction.
Yeah, it will go in left directions. Because this is the property of diamagnetic particles. And they are magnetized in direction. If you want to magnetize them, they want to get magnetized in direction opposite to direction of magnetic field.
So these type of substances are magnets. We call them as magnets or just slab substance.
No, they are not magnet. They have magnetic property.
Magnetic
We
property.
call them dimagnetic. We call them dimagnetic molecule or dimagnetic substance. They are not magnet in the sense we know. It's not that they have a dimagnetic property. The magnetic property is for dimagnetic. And if you do some, if you see the experiments of H.C. Verma on YouTube, if anybody has seen, there's very beautiful experiment that how the wire get pushed by how the wire attracts particle. You'll be really wondering what is happening here.
Oil.
So, yeah, wire. The household oil which are using in our home, they also have magnetic property, and that is very beautifully explained by how the magnetic property is. If you have interest, you can watch the video. Okay, so yeah. So I think we've reached 1 hour. This is the last study, even if you don't want to. That's all I have to say. So do a study. You're studying well. Come prepared, and the next we have covered almost the entire things of the your first chapter, that is the solid state, and the next chapter. What is the next chapter?
Solutions.
Electrochemistry. Solution.
Yeah, the next chapter is your solutions. So we'll take up the next in the next class, the next chapter. Anybody has any question? I will start from Gauri. You have any question, Gauri?
No, sir.
No question. What is the next chapter in your chemistry?
The solutions.
Solutions. Okay. You have any question, Aditya?
No, sir.
Okay. So we shall we close now?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir,
Yeah, please.
can you upload some questions related to this chapter?
In fact, yeah. So I forgot. Yes. Shall we in the next session, in the next class? Would you like me to discuss the questions, or would you like to go to the next chapter? What would you like to do?
NCERT questions.
So let's
Shall we
start with the next chapter only, but just you give us the questions and we will solve it. And if we have a doubt, we'll ask you.
Yes, that will be nice. I'll give you questions, sir. Meanwhile, I would request you to go through your questions which is given in the end of NCERT book. A lot of questions are given in the end. Do try to solve them. I can give you additional questions as well. So I'll find out how to send the questions to you. And if you are getting stuck up in any of the questions, we can discuss in the next class. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Meanwhile, do try to solve as many questions as you want. The best part, I think the most useful way is to solve the question on your own. And if you have any doubt, if you are stuck up somewhere, bring it to notice. Discuss with your friends, your teachers, discuss with me, and that's how it can be done. And I'll find out the way how to send the questions. If I have to send question, whether it can be sent through Gmail or whatever. I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Anything else?
So when is the next class?
Next class will most likely day after tomorrow.
It's on Saturday.
Saturday.
8 to 9. 8 to 9 will be the next class. Our next class will be on solutions. We'll also pick up some questions from this chapter. I think that will be good. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we'll call it a day now. Okay, then good night
Yes, sir.
and see you in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you.